Hey everyone, Kevin from H-Town checking in with you on this lovely late winter day. Interesting article slash hit piece debuting today from the Texas Tribune and KHOU Houston, essentially saying that the eyes of Texas should be on the chopping block. Now, for those of you who thought that this controversy was settled several months ago, think again, because the Texas Tribune, KHOU, and probably a handful of others want to see this controversy reignited. Essentially, the article in question, which I'll put down in the description box below, the angle of attack from the article is that, well, the eyes is only defended by the most wealthy and racist Texas alums and boosters, and no one else likes it. Now, interestingly enough, if you take a look at the song, there is nothing wrong with that song at all. There's nothing wrong with the lyrics at all. At all. And so the argument has shifted from, well, okay, there's nothing wrong with the eyes itself, but the title is a thinly veiled reference to a saying that Confederate General Robert E. Lee said once. Or, well, the music is based on I've Been Working on the Railroad, and there was a version of that song that had racial derogatory lyrics. Or, well, okay, the eyes, there's nothing wrong with it, but okay, it was sung at a minstrel show on campus once. Kind of like the Star-Spangled Banner used to be. Interestingly enough, none of these arguments actually point out anything wrong with the eyes of Texas itself. None of them do. It's always some sort of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon type game. And what's really unfortunate is that the standards for this new cleansing, this new book burning, they seem to change on a daily basis. Now, today's standard is essentially the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, where if an item or a song or a book isn't evil and there's nothing wrong with it in of itself, we're going to find a connection somehow that makes it evil, and that will justify why it needs to be torn down or erased or burned. It's a very strange thing to see happening, because if you follow this line of thinking to its logical extent, there are no rules, there are no limits to what can be erased or destroyed. You can literally find a connection to some sort of shady or negative past for anything out there. Anything out there. And so the question becomes, okay, where do we draw the line? Now, the article goes on to reference Texas A&M University and their decision to remove the statue of Sol Ross from campus. Now, Sol Ross, former president of what we now know as Texas A&M, also a former Confederate general. And what the media doesn't say about Sol Ross is that after the Civil War, he took over leadership of what we now call A&M and saved that college from bankruptcy. So had it not been for Sol Ross, there would be no Texas A&M University today. But for the folks at A&M, it was certainly more financially expedient to give in to the demands of the book burners and say, you know what, we'll just go ahead and tear down the statue. Just please stop yelling at us, and please keep giving us your money. And that's unfortunate because those folks from now on will never know about Sol Ross. They'll never know the sacrifices he made to save Texas A&M University. They'll never know that the students who are there protesting and advocating for the erasure of history are only there in the first place at that location because of Sol Ross. They'll never know. So the article wraps up by essentially saying that the University of Texas should follow suit, follow the lead of A&M, destroy the eyes of Texas, and everyone will be happy. Unfortunately, the Tribune, KHOU, didn't bother to reach out to anybody who happens to feel otherwise. Folks like Ricky Williams, folks like Earl Campbell, Heisman Award-winning running backs for the University of Texas who actually support the Eyes of Texas. Having said all of that, here's the takeaway from the hit piece itself. The folks who want to purge history, to cleanse history, as it were, admit that there's nothing wrong with the Eyes of Texas. Grudgingly, they admit, okay, there's nothing wrong with the Eyes of Texas. So they shifted their argument to, well, there are secret connections, and it's probably secretly, quote-unquote, racist now because of those connections. So for those who are interested in preserving history and learning from history, be aware of this shift in tactics, because now the current standard has changed. Now, if a book or a song or a piece of art or a statue has nothing wrong with it in and of itself, it's still not in the clear because there may be a connection somewhere else that by default makes that piece of art or book or statue evil and wrong and something that needs to be cleansed from history. So I really need to thank both the Texas Tribune and KHOU Houston for tipping their hand and showing the rest of us sane people out here what the newest tactics are for destroying and erasing history and cleansing history. It really means a lot, and I certainly appreciate you letting us know what your next moves are. As always, this is Kevin in H-Town saying God bless each and every one of you. Texas fight. I'll talk to you later. Bye.